host.com.au.
This is the Sattler Files.
Welcome back to the Sattler Files, and it is bricks and mortar time, and this is the time of the week when we talk to Jay Mangano from Devrite Homes of Distinction. Welcome back, Jay.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. And as we sit here in semi-darkness, because there are two globes gone in the lights above us,
Yes.
we're going to talk about lighting today.
We are. And these ones are halogens and they don't last that long.
No, they don't, and they are a pain to change.
And they actually make heat too. So if we put them in now, we have to put a cage over them so the insulation doesn't go anywhere near them. So
Are they a fire hazard?
they are a fire hazard if they're
Really?
not kept away from the insulation or any members in the roof.
Mm-hmm.
So there has been a lot of fires from them.
And you don't install these types of lights anymore, do you?
No,
You
never.
don't like them?
No,
So
no.
what is the difference between these and the sorts of lighting that you would install? I mean, can you just tell everybody, describe what they are?
Oh,
To me, they're just lights coming out of the ceiling.
They're recessed halogens that were popular. First, we had the incandescent, which are you're not allowed to put them in anymore. I don't know even if you can get them.
I don't think you can even buy them anymore.
But you can buy replacement LEDs for all those light fittings. So they're just as good as replacing the light fittings. Just buy the replacement globes with LEDs. And after we got over the incandescent, we went to the halogen, which didn't have a long lifespan. They're quite dull lights.
Obviously, the builder who built this house was on a learning curve.
Yeah. They were quite popular there for a while. And then they realised that these were probably not as great. We had a lot of compact fluoros, which had their own problems. They didn't have a long lifespan either, and they take a long time to get warm. So the light was very dull until they got up to brightness, so which doesn't really work if you're going in and out of a room. You
No,
go in and
of
turn
course
the
it
light on.
doesn't.
By the time you've found what you want, the
Yeah.
light's just getting up to brightness and you're out the room again. So
But it's also too because people are building houses now with higher ceilings. We've gone away from that the high ceilings were obviously around turn of the century, and then as building costs went up, the ceilings got lower and lower and lower.
Yeah.
And now everyone wants high ceiling houses when they're building, and you need a proper ladder to get to most of these. I mean, it's not a step ladder job. I mean, it really is. The ladder and the workman.
you have to get up a ladder to change them. Most houses you would now. Before you didn't. They used to hang down on a string.
Well, they used to exactly.
Yeah.
You'd have pendant lighting, you'd have chandeliers, you'd have all sorts of different things.
No.
Chandeliers, they've gone out of fashion, haven't
Yeah,
they?
very minimal now. We don't have. We used to for a while. We had 3 lights over the kitchen bench. They were 3 pendant lights, and the rest were all down lights. We don't even do those now. Most people just want minimal.
Well, because lights hanging down in your kitchen are just going to be a great trap for grease and dirt and dust.
And dust, yeah.
Then it's not really that advisable.
Yeah, so now we go totally LED, inside and out most of the time. So there's
What's the difference in cost?
huge difference in cost.
And you're going to tell me, aren't you?
Well, roundabout.
Yes.
So they're light emitting diodes are what LED stands for.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what it's. Yeah. So that's
Learn something every day, Jay Mangano.
Yeah. Now, and they're constructed from a solid state chip, and converts the electricity direct to light, and so there's no filament in there to burn. And so without the burning filament, there's very little heat that's produced, which was the problem
the fire
with
hazard
the
gone.
halogens.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and their lifespan is huge. Huge.
Tell
compared
me and annoy me even more, because these drive me crazy because they blow all the time.
Yeah, about 8,000 hours, they're saying, for a LED, which
Really?
does everything for our environment. There's waste.
Yeah.
There's less produced because we have to, and who's to know, in years to come they might get less efficient, like everything else that's been produced.
Yeah, well, there's a bit of built-in obsolescence somewhere along the line.
Yeah. So, but at this point in time, they do.
So that's what you recommend when people are building with you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Do
you have to convince them, or do they believe you?
No, most people believe you because they are very prominent now. That most builders would use LEDs of some description. Mm-hmm. And outside lights all can be LEDs. Most chandeliers, you can have them converted, even if they're not LEDs. You can have them.
So
converted.
you don't have. If you've got a nice crystal chandelier that you really particularly like, you can keep it, or you can put it in your new house. And convert it. Yes,
you can convert it. Even ones we bought one for a client, not so bolting back from a shop, that wasn't. And we said, no, well, we don't want it unless it's got LED globes. So, especially a chandelier, because this was 2 stories up, you don't want to be changing light globes.
No, that's more than a stepladder job then.
Yeah, and we don't have any failures. I don't think we've had any failures of lights. We have had some drivers fail, which
that's the bit inside
the ceiling.
Inside the ceiling that you wouldn't
so
know. Unless you were an electrician, you probably wouldn't even know it was there.
Yeah, so most of the time if there is a failure, and it'll be a failure in the first month or so, once they've got past that, we generally don't have any failures. So the landfill from the production of them, and they use about 90% less electricity. So your electricity bill should go down dramatically from changing to LED light globes.
That's reassuring.
Oh, anything to get your electricity bill down.
I'll say.
Mine is just horrendous, my electricity bill.
Oh, well, it starts to slow down about now because we've all stopped using our air conditioners because the heat's over.
Yeah.
So it should sort of get back to a normal. No, it doesn't at your house?
No, my family just go from heat to cold, cold to heat.
They just use the reverse cycle air conditioning.
Yeah, okay. So I'll go home tonight and it'll be on heat. It was on cold yesterday.
That's teenagers for you.
Yes, that is. So, and when you're going to buy your lights, we also have a IP rating.
Now, what's an IP rating?
So this is particularly important for your outside lights. So it's 2 digits, and the first digit is the protection against ingress from solids. So
you're talking double Dutch to me. I don't know what you're saying. What is that?
What impact or what can get into it and solid matter. So is
that like the insects getting into it?
And dust.
And dust.
Yeah, protected against solid objects over 50 mil. So large tools. Protected against solid objects over 12 mil in size, fingers and hands.
Right.
So it gets down to totally protected against ingress from dust and dustproof.
Right.
So the higher your number, the more it will keep out dust and things.
Yeah.
The less.
And any little invaders.
The second digit is protection against ingress from water. So we go from a 1 is protected against vertically falling drops of water.
As in rain.
Right down to protected against continuous immersion in water no deeper than 100 centimetres, pool or pond line.
Oh, okay.
So and it's the same, the higher you get, the higher the protection against the water.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get to outside lights, it's really important to have them. So you want something about you wouldn't want anything below 44 outside, and to protect against sprays of water from all directions.
You could be just hosing the gazebo or hosing your deck and oops, got the light.
Yeah. So, and if it's outside in the rain, so if something's under your eaves, it's a little bit more protected than something that's totally outside in the rain. So you need to check.
Unless you get that sleeting horizontal sort of rain that does happen.
It does. But,
if you've got the right, what is it, IP rating?
IP rating.
You should be covered for that.
Yeah, and your lights will be protected against the water ingress. So, if you supply your own lights and they fill up with water and the sparky's got to and a lot of people don't realise that's what's happened. So if somebody rings up and says, oh, my lights are all tripped out, there's something wrong, and you say, well, go out, reset your circuit breaker and turn all your lights off, reset your circuit breaker and then turn them on.
And work out
one at a time.
Which one is the offender.
And most of the time it will be the outside lights that are filled up with water.
Yeah. And so you do need to get a sparky to come and sort that out.
And obviously if it's a new house, the builder's not responsible if it's a light fitting that you've supplied. So you've got to do your homework to make sure it's going to be fit for purpose.
See, are these things all in your building contract that most people try to read but don't actually get all the way through?
Yeah, there's so much to read. There's huge amounts to read. There's huge amounts to know. Well, lights also come in different colours. So we have the cool white light or the warm white light. Cool white you have in studies and sewing rooms and
where you need
offices,
extra.
where you're using your eyes all the time. But it tricks the brain into thinking that it's daylight too, so you don't have them in bedrooms or family areas where you want to relax because it's also tricking the brain to think it's light.
Maybe that's Ron's problem. Maybe that's why Ron's up all night. Have you checked your globes?
I don't know. And the other little thing,
maybe it's an issue with the lighting.
Yeah, I don't.
We can't get that man to sleep.
No, he doesn't sleep.
He does not sleep. He works night and day.
Oh, but it's okay. He'll be outside now because he's got his new tractor to play with.
Oh, for goodness, that's right. You've taken delivery of the tractor, which is now parked on the driveway with all the other vehicles.
Yeah, that's it. 1955 David Brown tractor.
It's a collector's item, I'm sure.
Yeah, it doesn't go, so he's got to get it.
That'll keep him occupied for a while.
So he's got to strip it down and make the engine run and get it up and going, and who knows what we're going to do with it then. We'll go to a museum somewhere.
I was going to say, now, where does a tractor fit into Devrite Homes of Distinction?
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. It will go to some museum somewhere, I'm sure, eventually. But the other thing about warm white lights is they do not attract insects.
Don't they?
So you wouldn't have cool white lights out in your alfresco because you don't want the insects.
No, you don't want the moss
and you
hovering under the flame.
Yeah, so
and the mosquitoes.
So the warm white ones, where you would put them out in front of your house, where you want people to see, and you want it to be bright out the front of your house, you could put them out there, but not in your alfresco.
Well, because it's a safety consideration when you talk about lighting in the front of a house. You need to make sure your footpaths and all your entrances to the house are illuminated so people don't stumble and fall. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And it also... nothing nicer than a house lit up well.
Yeah, it does look really nice.
It does. Yeah. It does look like $1 million. The right lighting can really
set it off.
It can, can't it?
Yeah, it can.
And then the wrong lighting can devalue the look of a house too.
Yeah. You have to be careful which lights you put with which to make sure you don't have cool and warm together, because then they look like there's something wrong. How come this light's yellow? It's not working properly, but it is. It's actually just a warm white light.
It's just a warm white light.
And it's supposed to be like that. Mm-hmm. And you wouldn't notice if all the lights are the same. You don't notice. It's only when you put one in that's cool white that you notice that there's something wrong.
Do you think I would notice? As a layperson, would I notice that there was something wrong?
Yeah.
It's that obvious, is it?
It's very obvious, yeah. They are, you can tell the difference straight away.
So what else do you have to tell me about lighting, or do you think you've covered it all?
I think we've covered it, but
sounds good.
If anyone's got any questions, they can always ring and ask me, and I can give them some information.
How do they contact you, Jake?
They can ring me on 9361 1131, or they could check out our website.
And your website is?
www.devrite.com.au.
Couldn't be any simpler than that.
No, we like to keep
it simple. And email, it's j@devrite.com.au.
And Ron at Devrite.
And Ron.
Mark at Devrite. Yeah. We keep it simple.
The only way to go. Yeah. Thank you, Jay Mangano, for joining me. You've been listening to Bricks and Mortar on the Sattler Files. Back shortly with more.
This is the Sattler Files.